Hi, Bruno. Welcome back.
Hey Adam, so good to be here with you, man. This your podcast is amazing, and I'm so happy to have the honor to be here with you. So thanks a lot, man. Thanks for the invites.
Thank you a lot, but I suspect you didn't listen to any episode, right? You never listened.
I do, yeah. No, I mean not to
Oh,
any
really?
of them, as I do, yes.
Okay, cool. I thought, you just like to be nice. So, okay, thank you for that. But if you even listen to the podcast, even better.
Yeah, no, man, you're great. This is, I think you are one of the top guys in our industry, and you have so many good insights. So that's great.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed the podcast, actually. And I had 272 episodes already.
Oh,
And I suspect maybe 250 or 240 guests. And everyone is nice. This is the interesting part, that all actually guests in my show are actually nice people, and every story is a bit different, right?
yeah.
So, for instance, you are the only one with coffee beans in your garden, right? Yeah, and so absolute unique, unique story.
Yeah, but I think that's my experience with working a lot of career is that you're totally right that every person has a different unique story, right? And I think this
Hmm.
is uh, and I think that some people are able to talk about it, right, and able to express and maybe share with other people and use their stories with lessons. But if you go and you start talking with people, you start listening to them like you do, then you start learning the lessons that sometimes they're not even able to articulate. So that's why I like
Right.
so much of these conversations because that's digging up on people's stories, digging up on what they did, on their success, especially for career, right? So when we're able to share what we do, and we find out that what we do can help other people, right? It's very inspiring.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, what interests me, right? So whether they are geniuses out there, or they are just good without doing anything, just and it seems like you have, regardless how good you are, you have still to work. So no, without effort, nothing happens,
Right.
which makes me happy because at the beginning of my career, I thought, okay, there are lots of smart people. I have no chance, to keep up. But if you are doing something, one day it will work, right? So this is actually the very good news. So there is no magic.
There's no.
It is only motivation, and if you do something and you're motivated, good stuff will happen. If you do nothing, nothing will happen. This is very easy, right?
Yeah, I agree that we have to do things, right? Taking action is amazingly important. There is,
Yeah.
there's a book that I like a lot, it's the Talent Code, that talks about
Hmm.
um, the fact that the science has not discovered any innate talents. Right? All talents are evolved. And you might have uh, for different things in your life, you might end up doing one thing or another, but every single talent is built, right? So if you don't take
Hmm.
action, nothing happens, right? And so this
What's the name of the book?
it's called the Talent Codes.
Okay,
Yes,
interesting.
you can put in the links. That's
Yeah, we have to, because interesting one.
yeah, it's a really good
Hmm.
book. I talk a lot about it on my talks because I think it's really liberating to realize
Hmm.
that if you really want to do something, you can work hard and do the things that need to be done and build the brain to do that thing,
Hmm.
right? And science has not discovered the limits to our talents yet.
Hmm.
So the more you work on things, the better you get. And I
Hmm.
think this is such an amazing insight.
Yeah, what I don't like is the term work hard, because what work hard often means is, or people are thinking, no, if I will learn 10 hours a day, I become better. Not necessary, right? Maybe this is a waste of time. Maybe if you just learn, focus 1 hour a day and do something different, you will become better. But this is not working hard, it's working smart, maybe, right?
Right.
So I would say, how to call it, maybe work focused and have fun, right? This is, I think, the yeah. Because what I remember, right? So if we met at Java 1, there was, the Treasure Island, so we talk about that, and we met in the bus. We still kept, talking about Genie and Java, and we had fun, right? But it was not work hard because we remember the old days, and it was actually fun,
Mhm.
right? You know what I mean? It's not like, wow, we spent 12 hours at a conference and at night we still talk about Java. No, we just wanted to talk about Java, and this was fun, right?
Yeah, so I think basically the idea behind and the thing that the talent code talks a lot about is how you actually build your brain, right? And it talks about
Hmm.
that skills are actually myelin in your brain, and so basically when you put myelin around the right neurons, those neurons get faster, and because they are faster, then you have a stronger skill, let's say. And
Hmm.
because of that, because skill and skill is actually myelin in the brain, so there's
Hmm.
a biological component to your skills, whatever skill you want to have. And because the biological components, there's what I call the three F's, right? There's three F's that you have to do to
Hmm.
really build any skills, right? And the first one is fire the right neurons, because
Okay.
yeah. So when you say, for example, you got to work smarter, not harder, you're totally right, because the idea is um, you have to fire the right neurons to do anything. So it doesn't matter if you spend the whole day working a lot in all kinds of meetings, for example, if you don't sit down and code, right? So it's much better for you to sit down and focus and code something for 1 hour. That's actually going to build more your brain about coding, for example, than than anything else, right? And really, uh, it's the idea of finding the right neurons. It's so important, right? Because that's very tiring. And so the top athletes, for example, the top musicians, they don't spend 8 hours a day or 10 hours a day doing exercise or playing music, right? They focus on a small amount of time, and it's so tiring that many of them are going to go sleep right after that, right? Because they
Hmm.
spend a lot of energy, right? So find your neurons, the first F. Should I?
Yeah, this is what I meant. Not hard means almost like an interval training, right? So for short amount of time, just focus and then do something different. And you said code. What sometimes happens to me, it is if I think about code, I don't have to code. I think about a problem. Exactly right now, I also have a problem, so I code. No, I think about. It's okay. I don't like to sit down and code because nothing will happen. I know that it does will not work because I don't have the solution now. So I do other work and then I just thinking about the my problem and then I sit down and code something and then I enjoy it really. So I really enjoy it, and I don't know. People say I know I'm working hard, but this is just more from the outside. From the inside, it's just fun for me, right? So, but interesting. So every year, different book. Last year you had the how it's called Circle of no, what was it? Golden
The golden
was
circle.
it golden circle, right? And today and today completely surprised, now we're talking about neurons.
Right.
You're amazing. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I know, because I think that as developers, we work with our brain all the time, right? So for me,
Hmm.
we understand a little bit of the brain is important for us, because the more we are information workers, the more we are, that's our muscles, right? It's the brain. So I think
Yeah.
we got to understand a little bit, right? I always
Yeah.
compare that, for example, if an athlete, like a soccer player, for example, if they have a contusion, right? Something that they fear in their muscles, right? They don't understand enough too much about muscle, right? But they understand enough to say, hey, I'm going to stop playing, right? If I
Hmm.
continue doing that, I'm going to destroy myself, for example, right? They have to understand enough about muscles so they can train the right way, and they can improve the right way. And so that's what I think about development. So we have to understand enough about the brain so we can do our
Hmm.
work better.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, you were right. Yeah, absolutely right. Actually, so you spend time like I don't know teaching now how to learn. So you are a meta level right now, right?
I'm a what? Sorry.
Meta level, so
Meta
you are
level.
talking how to know more about development,
Yeah.
how to become. It's a meta level. It's like how to meta is how to become.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a interesting process, Adam. That's I started with, as everyone knows, the Brazilian Java man. I'm started as a
Yeah.
developer, and all that. But then the more I did Java, the more I started noticing that the big problems that you had in projects were not necessarily the coding part, right? I was working for top amazing developers, and so the code was the easy part, right? And a lot of it had to do with how you deliver code, how we actually get the whole process working, how we get the whole team working together. So I did a lot of it, and because I had I started at Sun, right? So I had a background on Solaris and
Yeah, I
Linux.
see a sticker, Open Solaris behind you.
Exactly, there's a sticker open Solaris, exactly, right? And so then I joined this two knowledge of software development and the infrastructure in the OS to go do automation and go do DevOps, right? So then I spent a lot of
Hmm.
time actually. I started very very early in what was still called ALM, right? So application lifecycle management, right? So not even called DevOps at that time. And so I did a lot of work around DevOps. And actually I did with Adson Yanaga, we did this awesome project called the Pirates of DevOps, where
Hmm.
we're actually teaching people how to change the culture inside their companies and how to actually implement DevOps and reduce the time to deliver code and all that. And that took me to all kinds of places like automations and containers and Ansible
Hmm.
and all this kind of things. But the more I did that, the more I realized that DevOps for me was the developer taking responsibility to deliver the project, right?
Yeah, but this is how it started.
It's how I started, right?
So I have a joke, on my slides. I have of the recent slides.
Mhm.
So introduction is so the first slide says something like, I started in 1995 as a DevOps engineer and became 2000 serverless. And how I explain that, because 1995, in my very first project, I said, okay, now I was supposed to implement an e-commerce server. So okay, let's start. And the CEO told me, but we need a service. What we should buy? I said, Sun, of course. I said, too expensive. And then buy HP also sounds great. So we got the HP machine, and it was empty, right? So we had to know to install everything on the machine, and he didn't care. So it has to run. So we actually had to run the machine for a few years, 2 years, I think. And then there was a department, and they took the machines, and now there we were serverless. We are no more allowed, to to touch the machines. We only copy over the wars, and this basically was right.
Mhm.
But so the only thing which I don't like in software engineering is inventing new names for old stuff, right? So
Yeah.
DevOps is how it started. Now we can now talk about DevOps. Okay, if you cannot just build Hello World in Java, you have to package in a jar and start it somewhere. And if it's important Hello World, you have to watch it or do something or build in at least a logging statement or a metric or something that you know that the Hello World is there. And there was no name for it at the beginning. Webmaster, maybe, right? So the webmaster was the DevOps. The webmaster
Right.
was the DevOps engineer. So and then what happened, right? They say now there's a department who would like to cares about the server, and you only you are only supposed to write the hello world, and the DevOps department will run the servers, and they couldn't run the servers because they had no idea how to run the hello world. And then after attempts and millions of burnt money, they say, okay, now we are roll back the decision and call it DevOps, right? So this is how in the industry now works usually. And now we have FinOps because the clouds are too expensive, so they cannot say, okay, we cannot just put some software back from the cloud to on premise. So we do FinOps and somehow mask the decision there, right?
Yeah, exactly. So then, I think that's why this whole thing you're talking about, right? That's why for me, what really got me was the responsibility part, right? Because
Yeah.
all of this is, you're right, right? We have different names, right? But in the end, is the developer responsibility, right? That's important.
Hmm.
So that's you're talking about being me meta right now is because I went to help developers to be more responsible. That's how I
Hmm.
got into the career discussion, right? Is because For
Hmm.
me, the developer should be actually. There's an interesting story, Adam. A few years ago, I was having this conversation with this guy, Silvio Meira. So Silvio Meira is one of the the top names in the IT industry here in Brazil, and
Hmm.
he's a university professor and an investor, and he created like this huge incubator in the northeast of Brazil, and so
Hmm.
very 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 influential person. And we're having lunch together a few years ago, and we have discussed all kinds of things in the future, technology, all that. And then the moment we asked for the bill, right, to leave, he asked me, Bruno, do you know what's the biggest problem in the IT industry? And I'm like, man, I can't believe we had so many discussions, and now we're going to discuss the whole afternoon again, right? But he was very short. He said the biggest problem is the lack of leaders. And then he said, not the lack of bosses, right? There's too many bosses, right? But the lack of leaders. And then he said one thing that changed in my view. He said, the lack of people that take responsibility. So the
Hmm.
moment that Silvio kind of conflates these two ideas, leaders are the people that take responsibility, I'm like, yes, that's what I totally believe that, right? So for me, developers that take responsibility, they become leaders. They become leaders of their career. They become leaders of their projects, right? They become leaders of their companies. And so and you don't have to have like an official position to be a leader, right? So you can just take responsibility for your own career, your own life, and that puts you in a leadership position, although not official, right? And so that's at that moment, Adam, I made it a decision that that's the thing I should be doing, right? So actually build leaders, right? Not bosses, not managers, but people that take responsibility for their code, for their projects, for their companies, and that's and I think that learning how to learn and being up to date with technology and improving your talents, all of these are you take responsibility and you become a leader of your own career.
Very good. So you're right about the responsibility, but the responsibility for developer means for me one thing, right?
Hmm.
So if you join a project and you are responsible, the only goal is make the project successful,
Hmm. Exactly.
not make your boss successful, the project successful. And this is almost meta, right? Because if you are in company, in a large company, maybe a successful project means, deliver something which half works, right? And get the budget for next year. So this is like, maybe success in larger company.
But
But if you go further, I know it was in some project, it's a dangerous territory. It's okay. Now I would like to make the project really successful, so the best application ever, and we save money and time. That's a little bit dangerous because maybe you are fighting against politics and but I knew people, they were great, they were always in trouble because they took responsibility, right? They say, okay, in order to be successful in the project, we have to do this and this and this. And this is not always, works well in larger company. Not even in startups can work. So I would say the responsibilities, don't forget the mission, the goal. So go for it, and be nice as well, right? So otherwise it won't work either. And what he also said was the you focused on the meta stuff in order to help people. So I think you can do this as with code as well, because what happens in projects that developers are sometimes unsure, what is the right thing to do. And if you come in and you just write, simple code and say, this is the way, right? It helps a lot, because then, all politics put aside, and everyone enjoys, the time, and you are productive and simple, and the code is maintainable. But if you, come into a project and you start with 50 patterns, to push a button, then the problem starts, because everyone tries to outsmart the other developers, and you spend all the times reading articles which are pointless, right? So I would say you could do it from outside or from inside. It really depends. Both can work, right?
yeah, I think that's, as you said, taking responsibility sometimes means taking all those things into account, right? Because
Hmm.
sometimes if you say, oh yes, I'm going to make the project successful, so what exactly is a project successful? If you do the project in a way that it's amazing, high technology, everything, but then gets the project canceled, uh, because because it doesn't address the need for the company, for example, right, or the speed the company needs or whatever. So I think that I really like this idea of making the project successful because it can involve a lot of things, right?
Mhm.
And
It could also make cancel the project, right? Recently, I said, if you really think this way, we should cancel immediately. This is no, this is it is really we should donate the money or do something different because this doesn't make any sense, right? So
right,
it could
right.
also mean just to tell the manager it doesn't make any sense what you would like to achieve here, right?
Yeah, and I think this is one of the thing, at least for me, the thing that really bothers me a lot in terms of project, right? When you don't realize what exactly what the goal of the project is or what is success for the project, you can end up in a project where you put in a lot of effort. The project might be technically interesting, and you put lots of efforts. I'm sure you've done the same thing as me. That you work extra hours, you spend you work weekends, you put a lot of effort. You might be not even paying attention to your family for things like this, and causing problems inside your family, but you're focused on the project, and then the project gets canceled, right? So all
Hmm.
that work, all the things that you
Hmm.
did, just disappears, right? So all the effort that you
Hmm.
put is worth nothing. And
Hmm.
so for me, I think that being able to see more than simply the code and actually understand, even the politics of the thing, what your boss needs, what your boss wants,
Hmm.
understand all that actually makes increase the chance that you're going to work on projects that are important and projects that are actually going to make a results for someone.
Funny story. So 20 years ago, roughly. So I spent time in a project where he had to build in Swing so UIs for insurance companies. And what I noticed, there was one. Now I will call it maybe product manager or someone who and I had to show him the panels, and he looked at this. Okay, this looks nice, and this look not that nice, and so forth. And
Mhm.
then I got the idea because every panel had an address input. So I will create a reusable component, with the input. So I spent some time, extra time, to create the reusable component with the address input, the J panel, and then I created like, how to tell, 10 tabs, 10 views with the address, and everything looked fine. And the last one, it was not enough room for the component. And then I showed him this, and he looked at it, oh, it's nice, nice. And the last one said, okay, there's not enough room. You know what? We don't need the address at all, right? This was absolutely, it was a pointless even to think about the address. So the first question was, the correct one would be to ask, do we really need the address, right?
Mhm.
And then you said no, then over. But there was miscommunication. I thought the address is important, so I created a reusable component, which was pointless, right? So this is lots of such situations which are actually funny, not funny, but you learn a lot. So since then, I always ask, do we really need it?
Right.
If not, just delete it, right? So if we implemented something is no more needed, just delete the thing, right? So I think this is the most important thing. Question everything, right?
Yeah, and look, sometimes, man, this can be life saving, literally, right? So
Yeah.
that just happened a few weeks ago. I was talking to a mentee of mine, Hugo, and we were talking about things, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm so busy this week. Things are crazy, and then this new project showed up, and I have to deliver this by next Monday." And there's not enough, there's other people can participate on this. It's just going to be me. There's not enough time for me to do this by next Monday, all of that. And I was like, Hugo, why do you need to deliver this next Monday? And said, oh, because they asked it you. I said, but why is the urgency? What's the point? What's the customer needs that? And then he said, I don't know. I said, well, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Is the customer even going to use this next
Yeah.
week? So he said, I don't know. So then
Hmm.
we agreed that he's going to ask, right? So I talked to him next day, and said, and he said, oh man, I asked around, and so they said they don't know why the urgency. So they went to ask the customer, and the
Yeah.
customer said, oh yeah, we're not going to even look at this in the next several weeks, right? We don't have time to look at this right now. And so
Yeah.
suddenly the project was not urgent at all, right? And then
Yeah.
and then on that conversation, Hugo had told me that he was not feeling very well. And now that he didn't have to go take a look at the project, right? So he was not urgent in the project anymore. So he went to the doctor to see what he was. And then when he went to the doctor, he was immediately admitted to the hospital, and he spent several days in the hospital with a huge infection, and so
Oh,
he almost died, right? And so
okay.
I was imagining that. Imagine if it was too urgent, right?
Hmm.
And so he did not know it was not urgent, and then
Hmm.
he said, "Oh no, I'm just going to go to the hospital right after I finish the project." Right? So he would spend a week
Hmm.
going to trying to work the project. He might have gone to the hospital too late, right? And so I think that asking things and understanding why things need to be done that way, and checking everything, I think it's such an amazing thing. You just have to do that.
Yeah, actually, always ask why. This is the most important thing. Because for me, it's sometimes hard if someone tell me, just do it. So I cannot imagine why. So I don't get good ideas. I could do this, but it's bad feeling. But if I understand why it is important, then I'm motivated somehow. So if there's a deeper understanding why something is important, right? So yeah, interesting stuff you're doing there. Uh-huh. Do you no more coding? Nothing.
I do a little bit of coding, yes. This, but mostly
So what was your last line of code?
my last line of code was a Python application.
Oh,
I mean,
Python.
it just has my last line of code. It was something I did a couple of days ago, and it was a Python application to actually handle some grab some information from the internet, and automate some
Hmm.
something I need to do. So I mean, that's most what I do today is mostly automate things. Kind of combination of Java and Python mostly, a little bit of JavaScript from time to time, but mostly on the automation side.
I actually automate everything with Java,
Mhm.
and Java is actually surprisingly great. Really, I don't know whether you know, but I record the YouTube shorts with Java, so
Mhm.
almost daily, and they're like 300, almost no 400 of them, I think already. And there's like 60 seconds, Java snippets with various things, from fetching something from the internet to writing to a file, and even one liner which prints all the emojis which are available. Just fun.
Mhm.
And Java is amazing because I don't even compile the code. I just run Java as Java and just the source code. So it's a recent feature. So it works surprisingly well. So I thought, should I learn Python or Ruby or whatever? Ruby I tried once, and I like actually how it looked like, but I don't like Python how it looks like. But I think there's no need. So I'm incredibly fast, with Java. If you would tell me, download something from the internet, write to a file, and search for something, I think I could do it right away in a few minutes. So no problem at all.
Yeah, that's no doubt that Java is much easier those days with
Yeah,
with
it really is. So it's like 2 3 lines, you can achieve a lot.
I think that's the the one interesting thing that I always think in terms of multiple languages, right, is just that sometimes you have different libraries and different things that's easier for you to use, and so. But you're right. That's the biggest problem that I see those days is not actually the language itself, right? Sometimes it's the ecosystem, right? So what libraries are easy for you to use or that you know how to use.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
um,
but for me, it's the problem. I don't know any Python library. So if I would
yeah,
start research, to learn Python, I
exactly.
would be done with Java 10 times. So for me, it's just, Python would have has to be twice as good in Java for me to look at Python, because right now I don't waste any time with Java. So for me, I'm just curious, what I will gain with Python. But for now, I don't see. I
Mhm.
mean, whether I spend 5 minutes to download something from internet, and with Python I'm 4 minutes done, then I still stick with Java, because at least I'm expanding my knowledge and experience with Java. And with Python, I could learn something, but I don't know whether I could use it in projects actually.
Yeah, and sometimes is the ability that you have, right? So in
Hmm.
this particular case, I was running in a tool that accepts Python scripts, right? So I could run with
Hmm.
Python. So sometimes
Okay.
sometimes depends on the ecosystem what you have available to do things, and But well, I don't even know where we're taking this.
Okay, but another thing is there's a, I don't know whether you know, there's the Quarkus Discord channel, Brazilian one. You know
Yes,
them.
of course I know them, right? So yes, I actually talked to the guy last week at the developers conference, right? He was there, Luis.
Yeah, they are on fire. So they invited me to a talk, and I recognize some Brazilian faces, so nice community, and there is a constant flow, of information there. So it's like they're on fire; they're never sleeping, and just there's a Brazilian, so Portuguese channel and English one, and there's just a nice community. So I was really surprised how active they actually are,
Yeah.
and a few participants from the channel, they show up in German conferences. So they say, "Hey, hello, I'm from Brazil." I was really surprised. Also, one guy, he looked like a bone ripper. He was like a really nice guy, but he was a huge one. And he came to me and say, "Hey, Adam." It's like, "Why, he will kill me or what?" And I said, "No, I'm from Brazil." It's like a nice. This was a nice community there. So there were EclipseCon, and they followed some conferences in autumn.
Oh, so
And yeah, I just wanted
did you meet Danilo in EclipseCon? Is that the guy?
I think so. I think
Yes.
so. So
Right.
huge guy and very nice one. So we did some pictures,
Yes.
but at the beginning I was scared because he ran to me and say, "Hey, Adam," and he's really huge, right? So he's huge.
Yeah. So Danilo is my mentee, right? So
Ah, okay.
yes, and he I really wrote an email about him yesterday because I talked to him at the developers conference last week, and
Hmm.
we're talking about everything that he did this year, and I just started working with him in I think June this year, as like just a
Hmm.
few months, May I think May of this year, and so Danilo is the same thing as Luis, right? So I talked to also Luis at TDC last week, and so I think that people that are really willing to go and do the things that need to be done, they can change their careers around very very fast, right? So I think
Yeah.
it was awesome that Danilo went there and gave a talk at at EclipseCon. It was his first international experience, right? And
Hmm.
he was really excited about that. Also, Luis from the Quarkus user group, right? So
Hmm.
he's working with Aldo Moraes, and
Hmm.
he built the Quarkus. I think it's like the second largest Quarkus community in the world, right? It's like in in
Yeah. Yeah.
in just a couple of months, and so we did a unconference in
Hmm.
Ubatuba, right? So I went to Jay Crete, participated in Jay Crete, and then I helped found Jay Ibiza in the next following week, and then I came back to Brazil and we created this Ubatuba unconference, and so I invited Luis to come there, and he did like a 36-hour travel to be there in
Hmm.
the conference and discuss a lot about his community and how to grow his community. So I think it's awesome, man, when people are really passionate and they go and do
Hmm.
things, because things can happen really really fast. And
Hmm.
I think those guys are crushing their careers, and that's awesome. That's
Hmm.
the responsibility I was talking about, right? So when you take responsibility to actually make your career grow, and start doing the things that need to be done, man, things can happen so fast.
Yeah. And what I learned at the conference, the in Quarkus conference, Nuvem is cloud, right?
Moving
In
spot, yeah.
Brazil.
Yes, yes.
Nuve, and public cloud. I forgot actually. I was at the end of my talk. I know because I had interactions with the attendees. I could almost fluently speak, Portuguese, almost right. So at
That's
least
nice.
Nuvem and public cloud, and it
Yeah,
was lots of fun. I have to say.
yeah.
So nice community. So if the listeners would like to join, the name of this is just a Quarkus community channel.
It's
I
Quarkus
think,
Club,
right?
I think. It's Quarkus Club. If you search online for Quarkus.
Quarkus Club, exactly. This is the Quarkus Club.
Yes, exactly. That's awesome, man. It's awesome.
So now,
It's awesome that you met those guys, because I think they're doing amazing work, and I'm very
mhm,
glad that they got to meet you too. And so
mhm.
I really think that's this having people like you inspiring those new generations and the people that are coming. It's so important, so amazing.
We are the young generation, Bruno. So.
No, no, we're the old generation, man. You're trying to inspire the young generation, right?
But I actually, after half an hour, we have to come to meet to the topic, right? So because I was really curious,
Hmm.
what happens with the zombie Christmas trees?
Oh yeah, it's dead now. Unfortunately, we
There is that. Okay, this is. I thought this was more exciting story. We
no,
can fill half an hour about zombies.
no, we can
So
no. Well, interesting enough, that's maybe when are you coming visit me, man? To actually see those things in person. We should record a podcast here from my house when you're walking around in the middle of the trees. That would be awesome.
I have. There was an. I was a Lufthansa. Lufthansa is the
Hmm.
how to call it? How it's actually called? Airline
Airline, yeah.
company, not airline. Airline, yeah, of course, airline. Um, Forgot about that actually. So, and I tried to log in because I wanted to go to Devox, right, the conference in Belgium,
Hmm.
and they told me this is like a technical error, and I say okay. So I try now to put a wrong password. I say okay, password. They say okay, this is not right, and if the right password is technical error. So I ask, the AI chat, can you help me? I would like to log in. And after a few days, no response. I was okay. Then I go by train. And then was the first time in Devox. I was too lazy just to talk with the chat or whatever. So I went by train, and it worked actually surprisingly well. What I wanted to say is, I don't know why, since I have so many projects requests and I optimized the entire schedule that well, that is actually no time left. This was the problem with Corona. Before Corona, I traveled a little bit more, and there was a little bit more free time between the stuff.
Hmm.
But since the online part, there's actually no dead time, right? So this is the time is a precious resource now.
Yes.
So if I would go to Brazil, I would lose maybe entire week, which is not a problem about the problem is everything shifts left and right, and the subsequent weeks are hell on earth. This is the problem. No, it's not the problem that I lose some contracts, whatever. And this week is means that the client say, okay, it's not a problem. Then the meeting will shift just to the next week, and everything happens the next the weeks later.
Right.
And if I just do my work, I have easy living because and you do the work and it's fine. But if you try to shift around your stuff, that this becomes problematic. So I'm not actually an evangelist. I just work uh, as a developer,
Hmm.
and conferences are more or less vacations for me, right? So
Right.
this is the and I talk with the organizer, say I'm unique because I never attend any parties or whatever. It's like if I go to the party, forget me completely, and next time I have to work. There's not like I'm evangelizing Java 21. I use Java 21 in projects, and I sometimes talk about that, right? This is if I'm in the mood of talking about that.
Mhm.
So this is the difference.
Yeah, I actually like a lot to travel. I just came back from the U.S. I visit like 6 or 7 user groups there,
Hmm.
just a couple of weeks ago, and it was really good to actually come back and meet people in person and come talk to.
How well were they attended, the Java user groups?
Depends on the user group. Some user groups have come back. Actually, let me
Hmm.
say this: the Europe user groups were back, right, which were much stronger,
Oh.
right?
Hmm.
So, and then I tried to do a tour like this last year in the US. It did not work.
Hmm.
I did a tour around Europe this year, and I visit 10 countries, 11 countries, I think, and 13 events. It was really good. Many places like packet of people. It was awesome. Now the U.S. The trip was scheduled more last minute.
Hmm.
I was trying to do a trip that would end in AWS reInvent, but
Oh. Hmm.
yeah, but then there was there was Thanksgiving, right? So there's no way I could actually do that. So I had to do the trip earlier than I expected, and so it was kind of last minute. But the user groups, different user groups, kind of had more attendance than others, and the user groups that already started and meeting in person longer had I think they were more they attracted more the attendance, but it was good, man. It had good amount of people everywhere we went, and we had amazing conversations with all these group leaders. It was really fun. It was really really fun. Couple of weeks, and I visit Chicago, and then I went to New York, right? So to the Garden State Javas group, and then I did Houston with the Houston Javas group, and actually they had a code and coffee community now that was pretty fun. It was met on a Sunday, right? And it was like fully packed of people. That was pretty nice. And then I went to Jacksonville, where we visited a university. We also
Hmm.
had a user group. It was interesting. Jacksonville was interesting, because we had a joint meeting between Java user group and the Python user group, and it was really nice. And actually, that's one of the things that got me doing this thing in Python, because I was there with the guys and we discussed some things. And then I went to San Francisco, right? So San Francisco, we end up just doing like a online event. It was not in person because of that, right? Because the user group is not back yet, and so I think that different places have different attendance, especially if the user group has already started and meeting in person again. But I really think that this is a really important moment for the user groups, right? So I think that there's an opportunity. We can see in the developers conference, we saw in DevOps, that people are wanting to come back, right? They want to meet in person, they want to see
Yeah,
each other. So this is a good moment, right? It's a good moment for user groups. So if you're watching this and your user group has not restarted in person activities, do, man, because I think it's a really important. It's a good moment. Everyone wants to restart. People are needing, right, and the networking. There's lots of people needing opportunities in terms of jobs and things like that. And not only that, right, the whole discussion about building the next generation of developers, right? The people need to meet people in person, need to make the connection, need to make the relationships. And a lot of times, the thing that bothers me a little bit, Adam, is that when you do things online, right? In most places, all you do is that you come and you watch something, you listen to the speaker, and that's it. There's the networking between people, it's lacking, right? And so that's why I love what the guys from Quarkus Club are doing, the guys from SoJava, right? Because actually having a very active Discord group is a place where people can actually interact and discuss and do the networking that they can't just do on online events, right? Now,
exactly.
now that's why.
This is the huge difference. So, what I like about online conferences is my way of doing them is that I challenge the attendees if possible, or at least my workshops, to turn the camera on.
Mhm.
And everyone turns the camera on, we are on the same level, and this is more or less conversation. And this is almost like in person. And I was this year lots of conferences actually in Java user groups in person, not online. And then we say we can do offline. Then there is no remote streaming, we just offline. And then I can also challenge the attendees before the show. I already ask questions, and this is almost impossible in a remote. You have to be more formal.
Right.
You have to be more careful what you are saying, because you can say no wrong things per accident, right? If you are in the room, it is you can always say actually what you actually wanted to say, right? So this is a complete
And
different situation. It's all more fun. You can have some food together, and yeah,
and
and
and, there,
yeah,
and there's
and
nothing,
mhm,
the way that you do is like I do too, right? So I do my mentoring, my workshops, everything that I do, it's like very open. I do more like a discussion and a question and answer
mhm.
process. That's what I do, even in person events, right? But but one thing that's very important is that on an online event, so on in-person events, you can have the speaker talking about whatever topic is talking about or she's talking about, and then you go to the highways, and then you can have the conversation, right? But
Mhm.
on online events, if the speaker doesn't do what you're doing, right, that's actually having the conversation, having the discussion, then you have the speaker speaking, and then once he ends, right?
Yeah.
And then there's no the next step, right? So I really think that user groups should be back, should restart discussion. The speakers want to do, one of the conversations you had was with Garrett, right? And Garrett is trying to do the same thing, right? So he's traveling
Hmm.
all over the world and trying to actually meet people in person. So there are several speakers that want to try to do this. So if you're a user group, please restart, and if I can help, I will come to user group to help you restart things. Like that's what I did in Europe. That's what I did in the US. But if in person is not a possibility, at least listen to what Adam's talking about here, right? So do more conversations online where the speaker comes in and to participate and have a discussion, like an open discussion, instead of
Yeah, challenge the speaker. This is fun. If you're attendee, challenge the speaker, and cool stuff will happen, right? So I always like, if there's something wrong, just challenge. And so the craziest country actually is Poland. So for now.
Mhm.
So what happens there? They invite me to a conference. So okay, there's a huge one, and then for unknown reasons, it happens already twice. And the same week, there is another conference, at least as large as the first one.
Mhm.
And now, without any thinking, I committed to both.
Mhm.
And it was mission impossible last year because it was not possible by car. It was not possible because we're 1,000 kilometers. I have to travel in
Oh,
one day and then speak in two locations. The only thing was possible by train. So I was forced to use the train, and it actually worked. But it was like minute work. So I was in 3,000 kilometers in 2 days. I think it was a crazy experience, but it was perfect for me because in the train I could work. It was completely relaxed. I came out of the train, then talk, and then come back to the train. But I don't know what they are doing. But this was the two conferences. Both were like 2K attendees at least. Just passionate Java developers is crazy.
that's awesome.
So Poland is Java land. So at least, yeah.
I haven't had a chance to come to Poland yet, but maybe next year, right? So
Yeah,
we're
you
almost.
sure? There's a InfoShare. It's a huge one. It's more like you like InfoShare, maybe a bit better, but it's not just about Java. It's like festival, like I don't know, 10K attendee or whatever. A really nice one about various topics, soft skills and whatever. It's called InfoShare.
Mhm.
And there was Code Europe, JDD, then Devox Poland is huge one, and is in Krakow. You will also like it. So and yeah, Geekon is coming to Krakow as well. So this is just crazy what they are doing there.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's great. So my goal now is to next year there's going to be Dev Nexus in the US.
Hmm.
So I really want to come and visit several user groups, probably right after Dev Nexus or maybe right before. I have to take a look in the calendar. Probably come to Dev Nexus and then travel around to visit user groups. I'd love to do that. So if you listen to this and there's a user group that you like me to come visit, ping me.
Hmm.
I'm at BR Java Man on Twitter, right? So DMs are open. So ping me. So if,
Not Python man, Java man still. So BR,
yes,
Java man, not Python man.
yes, BR,
Yeah.
not Python Java Man, not Python Man, no. And so, well, actually, funny enough, and if you look at the bottom of my emails, right, there's I'm a lots of things man those days. you know,
Yeah.
because I keep changing my definition at the bottom of my emails now. But also I want to come back to Europe, right? So
Hmm.
I'm not sure if I'd love to come back to J Crete again, and I know that J Ibiza was awesome that last year. We're gonna do it again. So if I could do those two events again this year, it would be amazing.
Hmm. Uh, to Brazilian Christmas. So I just wanted actually to talk just about that. So how did Christmas Day look like in Brazil? What is the food? How it works? Where the kids get the gifts? So what's the entire procedure of typical Brazilian Christmas Day, or 2 days maybe even? But because in UK there are 2 days which are relevant. So.
Yeah, so in Brazil, it's interesting because the big party is the night before Christmas, right? So
Mhm.
so that's where
23rd, you mean?
no, no, 24th. So it's in the night. So
Okay.
yeah, so
Hmm.
so so Christmas 25, right? So the night before
Hmm.
four. That's when you have the big dinner, and then many times that's where
Big dinner. What's on the dish? So what's on the table in the dinner? So what are you eating in Brazil?
I mean, there's meat and there's poultry, pork.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's farofa, right? So farofa is a mixture made of with fried flour, right? So it's nice. There's one thing that I love is habanada, right? So it's you get bread, right? But it's usually bread is like a couple of days old breads, and then you slice it in slice. You cut in slices, and then you put in a mixture of condensed milk, right? That's like sweet,
Mm-hmm.
and then and some other things, right? Milk and condensed milk, so to get sweet. Or some people just kind of put milk and put sugar on it, and then you put that in the mixture with eggs, and then you fry
Mm-hmm.
that, and then you put
Mm-hmm.
sugar and cinnamon on top of. So it's
Mm-hmm.
awesome, right? So that's like fried
Habanada.
habanada. I love that. There's also panettone, right? It's like a famous. I'm not sure if it's the same kind of bread. There's in Italy, but I love panettones. So it's really and we do barbecue here in our house, right? So sometimes we can
Mm-hmm.
get coming over. Now, one interesting thing is that for me, this whole notion that the kids wake up in the morning and they find gifts under the tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
That never existed for me when I was a kid, right? Because the whole idea is that we had this big party, and at midnight
Mm-hmm.
we exchanged presents, right? So there's no
Mm-hmm.
notion that Santa Claus would come down the chimney
The
and
same in Germany, I think.
yeah,
The same in Germany. So it is not like this is what I think in US is typically the Santa Claus just yeah, this is just in the
right.
American movies. I think in Germany it's the same. So you just give someone the present and
Yeah, in
call it a day, right?
the middle of the night, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
then when I went to the U.S. as an exchange student, I came back with this idea, and so for my kids, I started doing this. Like they wake up in the morning, there's gifts under the tree, right? But it was
Are they sleeping at all? This is the problem then, right?
well, they have to go to sleep at some point, right?
Yeah, but
The problem is that Santa Claus has to stay awake until very late.
okay.
Right? But yes, and then we had this. In my family, we always had this thing that for weeks beforehand, we would have the gift under the tree, right? So the gifts would stay there under the tree for weeks, and we get the
Hmm.
box and shake it around and see what's inside, right? So
That's cool. So
yeah,
it means you get the day, you have the barbecue, nice food, meat, how's it called? Habanada.
habanada, yes, habanada,
Habanada is
yeah,
a bread with milk
yeah,
and eggs
and sugar.
and
Oh, yeah, it's
sugar.
a
Yeah,
sweet.
and then you exchange presents. And the next day is just normal day. No, it's
No,
just
no, no, no. Next, so then you have a lunch the next day, right? So all the leftovers from the night you eat on the next day, and some people cook more food.
mhm,
That's also nice. And then, but remember that then it's hot, right? In Brazil, it's mid of the
mhm,
sun, right? So it's actually very hot. So it's a good time. Lots of people go to the beach, right? And spend Christmas there in the beach. Here in my house, it's a good time for you to go to spend the morning of Christmas in the pool, getting some sun. So it's a nice day, right? No snow, uh, no nothing. Actually, the decorations sometimes are like snowy, right? But in real
okay,
life, there's no snow, so it's all hot and nice.
okay. So last thing, if you do you have still time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or are
Yeah,
you
sure.
busy?
Yeah, no, all the time you want. That's all good.
What are your thoughts about ChatGPT and colleagues?
I have lots of thoughts about it, right? So is there any any specific question that you want to take me the
Yeah, of
question?
course. How will this affect developers' life? Let's say this is like the meta question.
Okay, there's lots of ways, right? So so first of all, I think you didn't I remember you interviewed Ron what's his name? from Digma. I think
Yeah,
I've
yeah, exactly.
podcast,
Uh-huh.
right? So, yeah, so Ron, for example, from Digma, they're doing this whole notion of the the continuous improvement, right? Continuous feedback,
Hmm.
right? So I think
Hmm.
this is something amazing that AI is going to be very helpful for, because it's great to have feedback, right, from whatever you're doing,
Hmm.
right? So having AI, even asking AI for we're talking about, for example, the whole notion of libraries, right? You might not
Hmm.
be very familiar with libraries, but if you come to the AI and you ask a question about how what kind of libraries you could use to do this or that, right? And then get a simple code or getting like a application that works. So I think that this instant feedback from someone that understands what you're asking, right, and try to understand, that's so much nicer for you to work on things. So I think this is going to be very important, and I think that's so I think AI is going to be an amazing learning opportunity, right? Now
Yes. Yeah.
the other hand, I think that this whole notion that AI we're just going to do the work for us, that's, for me, that doesn't exist, right? Because really, AI is such a, you have to understand so much about coding to actually get the
Hmm.
AI to do the right thing, right? That's,
Exactly.
I don't think so. For example, I was talking about this Python code that I did, right? And a lot of it was getting ChatGPT to do some coding for me, and then
Okay.
but
Hmm.
I was directing it, right? So that's what I want, right? And so it comes back with an answer, and you say, no, that's not going to solve the problem. I need to change that or do this, change the
Hmm.
library, change things, right? So you can get the AI to actually do some fast code for you, but you have to know what it is, right? And again, that's a lot of about your experience in how to solve problems, especially the solving problem part, right? Also, I think that let me give an example outside of software development, right? Because I think that's once we get too close to what we do, we kind of misunderstand things a little bit. But I do software development and I understand a little bit of marketing, right? So and a
Hmm.
lot of people are using ChatGPT on the marketing side, and for me, I see the following, right? So if you come to ChatGPT and say, hey, write me a marketing campaign, for example, right? That would be equivalent to write me like some kind of program. Write me a marketing campaign. It would do. You create an
Hmm.
amazing marketing campaign, right? And you look at it and say, oh man, that's amazing. But you have no idea if that thing is really amazing, if it's actually going to work. I mean, it spits a lot of things, right? But you don't know if it's going to work. So you can say, build me a marketing campaign, and like 10 emails for marketing, right? And it's going to write you 10 emails, and then if you put that thing in production, right, you might get no results because you don't
Hmm.
understand enough about marketing to actually see if that thing works or not. Or even worse than that, right, you might get a little bit of results, and you don't realize how much you're losing
Hmm.
because you have no idea of the strategy. You don't understand the strategy. You don't understand what's actually doing. You don't understand what actually works. So that's so it's very easy to ask ChatGPT to do a marketing campaign and then have zero result out of that. That's what I see in software development. It's very easy to get ChatGPT to spit lots of code, but if you don't understand what that thing's supposed to do, you don't understand what problem you're trying to solve, if you don't understand how to solve that problem to begin with, then whatever it spits, you have no idea if it works, if it's if it's
Exactly.
going to really solve the problem. And then you put that thing in production, and then you have no idea how much you're losing for not doing the right thing. So I think that ChatGPT is going to be amazing. It's going to write code. It's going to be very fast. It's going to solve problems, but it's going to do that for people that know how to do those things, right? People that
Exactly.
don't know how to
So
do
for
those.
juniors, junior is a terrible, because if you say do something and you have no chance to understand what happened, right? And if you put it to production, there's no way to debug the thing.
Right. Well, for a junior, okay. So yes, for a junior, the way I see for a junior is that so you got a problem to solve, right? As a junior, right? So you have to do something, and so for example, let's get back to your interview with the Digma guys, right? So uh, if you get, for example, I'm a junior, I write some code, and then I have to send to Adam Bean for him to review, right? I might be terrified, right? But if I can send, I can ask Digma AI to take a look at the code for me and tell me where things are wrong, right? When I send to you, Adam, I'm going to feel a lot better because I'm not going to be doing a lot of the stupid mistakes, right? And so I'll be able to have like a fast feedback and in a feedback that I'm not worried about in terms of being afraid of it. And so I think a junior can learn a lot faster than we did, Adam. So a junior can go from junior to senior in a much faster turnaround because he's going to
You're
have
right. You're
someone
right. From learning, yes, as feedback. But if you say you would like to create an app, you're a Java beginner, and let's say I pick ChatGPT and just create an application which reads OpenJDK and tries to find all the Java version, let's say. So if the ChatGPT generates some source code, then it's fine. If it works, it works. But how to extend the thing, right? So now it becomes interesting. So now you say, okay, there's not only just pick from OpenJDK and FooJ, right? And then you have now both sides, and now you have the already existing code. So how to extend from that? So this could be interesting because in one point of time you have really to understand how to merge both code bases or do something with it. It's just harder and harder. So this is maybe a problem. So if you know what ChatGPT is generating, so you should immediately review the code and change the code. And from my experiences, maybe 60% times it is okay, and then you have to change it anyway because either it's completely wrong or suboptimal on based on an old code, basically. So what ChatGPT knows is Stack Overflow and all the this is what was available at the web, and you don't get Java 21 or 22 code because it's just too new, right? So this is also a little bit problematic. So what you get is actually old stuff always.
Right.
But and thought experiment, what interests me, right? So imagine we get how to call it a neural link from Elon Musk, and ChatGPT could intercept our thoughts about application development, right? So the problem is even if this would work perfectly, so you're thinking about marketing software, right? Marketing robot, and it will immediately generate the application. So you still need time to look at the application, work with it, get feedback and improve it. And this feedback loop is somehow challenging, right? Because the application is already there. So now the AI should be able to reread, import own code and improve it. And then the code, loses on importance. Because if you think about this, if the AI just modifies the code and this is the only thing which understands the code, why we need code at all? Just can generate machine code. So I don't care. Mm-hmm. But then it has to be perfect, right? And then it has to generate code and tests that humans somehow will have to understand, right? Because if we cannot just trust a machine which hallucinates, let's say, 1% of all times, let's say, or 0.5% of the time, it's just not good enough. So it has to be almost perfect. Yeah. And if it generates machine code all the time, and we don't understand the machine code, so what is the best way, to understand machine code? Some kind of pseudocode. So what will happen is maybe, we get code back in order to understand what the machine generated. And what this reminds me was, I don't know if you remember, 2003, 4, 5 was the outsourcing campaigns, at least in Germany. You don't develop anymore. We just, write spec and send it somewhere. And then we get the code back and everything is fine, so we can save money. So it was the, the management dream.
Yeah.
And then it didn't work. And
right.
So this is not nothing as in ChatGPT. The prompt was longer. This was the spec, and what came back was the code. So the prompt was longer, and the feedback was also longer. So this was the only difference to now. Mm-hmm. And then it didn't work. So that they got the idea, to have UML diagrams to make the spec, more reliable and how to call it, harder, right? Or more precise.
More precise.
And the problem was, of course, that I remember in a meeting, there was activity diagrams and state transitions diagrams and lots of UML diagrams. And they asked me, but the diagrams get too big and they are hard to understand. And as a joke, I actually wrote some Java code, if else. And I said, okay, we could have pseudocode it's like, we like the idea. This is pseudocode. It's like, yeah, but the pseudocode is Java code. And this is what your developers are doing right now. Mm-hmm. Right. So they try, there was the full circle. So they try to say, we don't like to write the code by ourselves. So we write, Word files. The Word files were longer than the actual code. Mm-hmm. They sent it over, what came back was not usable. So they tried to use UML. And then in the end, they find out, actually, if you just write simple Java code, it's good enough.
Yeah, because I think that the whole thing is that what we do is that we're working to solve problems, right? That's our job all the time, right? And solving problems is not a here's a problem, solve it. It's always an interactive process. You do it and you improve it and you do it better
Exactly.
and you find the next problem that's going on. And so this whole thing, this whole interactive process, it's not something that you can write a spec, send, and come and get a result back. The same way it's not going to be, you get the AI and you give the AI the problem, it solves the problem for you. That's not how it's going to work. Right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
but I think that another way, this whole notion of the continuous feedback loop where you improve, you do things, you send to the AI, you improve it, and then you ask to AI some suggestion or other things they can do. I think that the AI is a tool that we should be working uh, in an interactive process, right? And
Yes.
I think that's going to be useful for lots of things, but I'm not worried about you know um, exactly how I mean in terms of kind of developers losing job or anything like this. I think that it's going to be it's going to increase your productivity so you can be
Hmm.
more productive in different areas, and maybe it's going to free your time to focus on the harder problems. That's my impression.
Yeah. Yeah, this could happen. It's still exciting, but
Exciting, yeah,
somehow, what
right.
what I read is sometimes strange ideas. It's okay. This is yeah, but let's see what happens. It's getting just better. You cannot ignore it, and yeah, it is fun to play with.
And now considering lots of things going on around the world, right? And especially with China and Europe and things that are going on. Some people are predicting that we're not going to have the ships to do a lot more innovation. So in a few years, right? So for me, right now, I think that next year is the AI year, right? So if you're
Hmm.
interested in AI, you should really invest next year and benefit a lot from it because depends on what happens because the world's getting very complicated right now, right? You
Yeah.
know, with the wars going on and with what things are going on in terms of globalization and what can happen with China. In all those things, there's a lot of unknowns that's going to happen in the world in the next few years, and this may affect a lot on how fast we can innovate and how fast we can improve AI. Whatever AI we get in the next couple of years, maybe that's the AI we're going to live for several years.
Yeah. Yeah, you are maybe right. But what I also think which will happen that the AI with billions of parameters, the time's going over, and we get more focused models which are not the general models rather than very focused ones, which are smaller, manageable, and maybe even they run our machines. It's already started. So this is also interesting. So let's see what we get. Under the Christmas tree next year, right? So
Yeah, but if you're for you to watching this here, I think this is the right time to get into it, right?
yeah.
Uh, I think that's in the past few years, a lot of discussion we're having about AI were were just kind of, I mean, whoever was building AI could have a possibility, but a lot of what we discussed in the past few years were not very usable. But 2023 was a year that we got things that are usable, right? So I think
Mhm.
2024 is going to be the year where you can actually benefit from all that. You can actually get results from all of those things. So if you're in the fence right now, is the right time to move or not? I think this is the right time to move. I think that 2025 is going to be too late, right? So
Mhm.
now I think it's the right time for it to move. And there's so many things that look. I've been telling this Adam because a few weeks ago I was in Tampa, Florida, for an event, right? So an AI event, right? But it's
Mhm.
not a technical event at all, right? It was how to use AI to improve sales processes,
Mhm.
right? And so right now there's this big movement that's way beyond technical, right? So at that event, I had me and a friend of mine, Douglas. There were two technical guys. Uh, we had a couple of the guys that presented were technical. There's a couple of people in the audience were technical, but 120 people there had no idea of the technical behind AI, and so and that shows that AI is going to actually reach people in all kinds of areas. So if
Yes.
you that watching this here, you're a technical person, it's a huge opportunity for you. So I think that's the right time to get moved.
I'm pretty sure it was before 2000. It was an internal meeting in a Bavarian pub regarding the local economy about Java.
Mm-hmm.
And this was Java 1.1 or something, like, and local IT provider invited the local people, and we showed something about Java. And what I remember at the end, there was the one there were like two Bavarian older guys, and the one says to the other one says, okay, and will it work? And the other one says, of course. And they say, why? It's like, because it's Java, right? So this was like this was like a completely unrelated, something. I don't know whether it was software. It's like, and they remember that Java is the solution to all problems. This was now we have the AI or LLMs are the is solution to all problems.
It's gonna be applied to all problems, right? There's no doubt, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that if you want to, that's why I think it's the right time to participate on that, because
yes, sure, you have to. Also, I mean, we should look at this and take a look how usable it is, and
and not only about how can improve your productivity or how can help you write code, but how can you include AI into your software, right?
Yeah.
How having a machine that understands what people are asking.
And exactly. How to get my Lufthansa account back, right? So this would be, for instance, this is like, hey, GPT, I would like to really fly, to Devox, and say, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Cool. Where people can find you? Maybe you have new books you wrote, or something, a new event you would like to promote.
Unfortunately,
this is audio only. No one will see the book, only me.
Unfortunately, people are not going to see, but I'm going to show you, right? So that's my new book called
Developer Career Master Plan. It looks actually very professional.
And it was written with Heather Van Kura from the JCP.
Oh, of Sun Microsystem JCP fame.
Yes, exactly, right. And the foreword is by Ed Burns.
Ed Burns, wow, JSF inventor.
Exactly.
Almost.
So it's a great book, right? So it talks about the 15 steps. Actually, let me show you.
And it looks, I have to say, it looks great. It looks very professional.
It looks awesome, right? So this is like the 15 steps for you to grow your career, right? It's published by Pact Publishing, and so it's a great book, man. We interview lots of people to do this book. So the book has a lot of insights, a lot of things that you can do, lots of we try to do something very practical that you can apply immediately in your career. But we also interviewed lots and lots of people. Interviewed Java champions and open source developers, Java group leaders, and lots of people to really come up with great ideas, great practical ideas that you can implement in your career immediately. So
then give me a link to the book. We'll put it to show notes, of course.
So here's what I'm going to do. I got permission for this trip to the US. I got permission from Pact Publishing to really to give away the first chapter of the book for free. So I'm going to give that link. So everyone here that's watching this, you can get the first chapter. The first chapter is about learning how to learn, right? That's the first thing that we discuss here.
The meta thing.
Yes. And so
they can read the first chapter and the other ones don't matter anymore, right? Because the meta is the meaty, right?
Exactly, right. So the very first chapter. So I'm going to put the link so where you guys can get that for free, and then and if you need anything else, actually, if you put your name,
you know what the listener should do if they listen carefully to the podcast, they should submit the first chapter to ChatGPT and say, "Hey, ChatGPT, generate for me the last chapters," and see what happens, right? So this will be interesting experiment, actually.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So the URL we're gonna put here, but is jav.mn/career master plan, right? So I'm gonna put that send to you, and then basically
I'll put the show notes and
show notes. Yes, but then basically, Adam, you asked about my contacts, right? So So if people go to this URL and they're going to get an email from me with my contacts, right? So then, they can just reply to that email and ask any question they want about their careers. I'm going to help them.
Perfect. Thank you. So this was a very productive ending, So one email and they're in direct contact with you. And this book looks like, before there was like, the architectural books, back then and they looks also very, nice and Apple-like, but in black. This is the impression.
Yes, it's really good. Yes, Pact came up with this series of books with the black cover.
Mhm.
That's they're very sleek, very nice. So yeah, I was really pleased to all the work that we did with Pact Publishing, me and Heather. Heather wasn't. I even say this in the book, right? Because I could not have done this book without Heather. She was really a the glue that connected everyone and actually got me doing all the things that I need to do to get the book done. So thanks a lot, Heather, for that. But the book has an amazing lineup of people
But Heather was always great. She was on fire with the JCP back then. She was always hyperactive. So can imagine how it worked.
Yes,
Sleepless nights, and everyone was afraid of Heather. So we have to write faster, right?
Heather is awesome, right? So
Mhm.
she's really. I think that she's an amazing person. She handles all of us in the JCP in a working together, right? So she did the same thing for the book. She got all of us to work together to actually get the book done. So if you're listening to this, Heather, thanks a lot. The book would be impossible without you. And not only that, I think that Ed Burns, he did something amazing, right? He actually because Ed also wrote a book about career a few years ago, right? So he went out and said that this book is like a segue from his book, right? And I think I kind of agreed with that. And he actually went to China and he presented a whole presentation about all the insights from the book. And that presentation is actually available online. So if anyone
Cool.
wants to do that, I'll also put the link to that, and that's going to be great.
Perfect. Thank you. And I also had a chat with Ed Burns, also nice guy at
Nice.
the podcast.
I like him.
Thank you, and see you next year, I would say. So we have I'm already curious to know what you will talk next year. So we have the developer stuff, then the meta stuff, and I think the next thing is ontology. It's the meta about meta. So I'm really curious next year, right? So
all right.
This can happen, no?
It can happen. Yes. Let's see, because I think that one thing that's going on, Adam, is that developers. I mean, I don't know when you started, right? But I started like officially, maybe my first development job was like, before Java in the early 90s. Actually, my first application that was like commercial application was used by a bakery was somewhere around, late, early 90s, I would say. Yes, early 90s. And so, and then I think year after year, right? So we get more responsibility, more more maturity, and so I think we're in a level right now where developers have. The developer community has a lot of people with many years of experience, right? And so I think that there is a lot of things that those people can do, right? To do next steps, to actually go solve larger problems, and so that could be a great topic for us to discuss next year, right? So what to do once you reach those levels, and because I tell everyone, go do what Adam Bean's doing, right? So go be a consultant, go have your own business, because you get to a level where there's not one single company that can benefit from what you have, right? And so I think what you're doing is amazing, Adam. Is an inspiration for lots of us. So just so you know, I mentioned this. Heinz Kabutz, for example, is another guy that I heard you interviewed some time ago. So there's a lot of people doing this kind of things that is, that's actually growing beyond senior, right? It's actually, that was my talk that I gave around when I traveled around Europe. Most user groups asking me to give that talk, growing beyond senior. And I think there's a really big opportunity for developers.
It's a great title, actually. growing up. It's just catchy title. So
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So maybe that's our talk for next time.
yeah, and for next time. But what's you said? We're doing this is a full circle. I would say the code we write right now is simple. And
Mhm.
this is how it started, right? So I think the entire senior and mid senior, whatever, how it's called between junior and senior, I don't know what the names are. Principal, I had a chat with Martin Stefanko and asked him about all the titles because I always was freelance. I had no idea, I know what the titles actually are. And but I think in the journey at the end, if you the truth is you have to understand the problem, try to understand it, and write as simple code as possible. Period. Right. So I mean, this what we can talk along about that, but this is the only thing which matters at the end of the day. And maybe if you are unsure and you don't, then you try to write too much code maybe because you and but if you are clear, so okay, this problem can be solved in this way. So you write very simple code. If someone looks at the code, it's like this is a trivial. No, this is a basic code. No, and this is maybe the idea that just write trivial, simple code.
Okay. Cool. That sounds
Yeah, I think so.
okay. So thanks a lot, Adam. It was great to be here with you. Thanks a lot, and keep up with the great work. You are an inspiration for lots of us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.